Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here for the weekend, two great shows for you. What you're listening to is my interview with Declan Shalvey. It's great to talk to Dec again. We've had him on before a couple times in the past, and really excited about his new graphic novel that comes out Wednesday, Savage Town from Image. If you like Irish crime, street crime stories, kitchen sink dramas, as they were called back in the day, you're going to love this amazing book that Declan has written. Philip Barrett is the artist. It is just outstanding. Jordi of Belair, of course, doing the color, and it's great. Limerick City is the location, and we follow Jimmy Hardy Savage, a gangster on the rise, facing trouble from all sides. I'm reading this right from the Image solicit. With the local cops, rival gangs, his best mate, and his mammy all out to stick a knife in him. Will the bollocks live long enough to get to the top? More importantly, will he pay me back for that $5 I gave him last week? This is excellent, and I'm really excited to talk to Dec about it. It's a story that's been brewing in him for a long time. But as I said, if you love those great Irish crime movies of the 90s and 2000s, you're going to love Savage Town. And it's great to catch up with Dec, not only on that, but a lot of other Marvel projects that he has going on. Of course, he's still doing Interjection with Warren Ellis and Jordi. So it's great to catch up with Declan Shalvey on this episode of Word Balloon. It's all brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, as always, for your support. It is going to come in handy as I travel to Salt Lake City next week for the Salt Lake City Comic-Con. And one of the reasons I'm able to do that is because of the League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon is free. It will always be free. But if you like Word Balloon and feel like what I do is worth your time and money and you can afford it, is Word Balloon worth the price of a comic book to you each month? I hope so. I think you get unique content from Word Balloon every month. And I try my best by giving you some interesting conversations with the creative people of pop culture. So if you are interested in subscribing to Word Balloon, you can go to wordballoon.com, click on the Patreon ad there on the front page, or go to patreon.com/wordballoon, and you'll get to my Patreon page. But thank you very much for your continued support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon is also brought to you by InStock Trades. At InStockTrades.com, there are some amazing books this week from InStockTrades.com. I want to start with Marvel Masterworks, the hardcover Volume 2 of Marvel 2-in-1, The Thing. This is some great stuff from Bill Mantlo, Roy Thomas, Ron Wilson, and Sal Buscema. It is 288 pages. This is Volume 2, and it goes from 2-in-1 11 through 20. Also the annual, which features the Liberty Legion and Marvel Team Up 47 and Fantastic Four annual number 11. Really great stuff. This is The Thing in his prime, teaming up with so many great people like Kazar and my personal favorite, the Invaders and the Liberty Legion, a great time travel story. Liberty Legion is great because it's all these early timely characters that in some cases were full-fledged characters who had regular features. In some cases, they were only one-shot characters, but it really fleshed out the 40s roster of Marvel and timely heroes. And I just loved this as a kid, and I can't recommend this collection enough. He also teams up with Luke Cage, with Iron Man, Son of Satan is in there, the Scarecrow is in there, Morbius, the living vampire, of course, Spider-Man. Just excellent stuff, man. It's 50% off. It's $37.50. Here's another big volume that you may want to get, and that's Legends of the Dark Knight, Volume 3, Jim Aparo. Bob Haney doing the writing. It's got a lot of great Brave and Bold runs in there, Detective Comic stories, plus Batman Family 17 and the Untold Legend of the Batman miniseries 1 through 3. It's Jim Aparo at his best. As I was telling a friend in a comic store the other day, how great was Jim Aparo? I remember my first conversation with Neil Adams. And I had, because, not knowing my comic history as well as I should probably back then, I'm like, Jim Aparo even kind of aped your Batman style. And Neil was the first to say, no. Jim Aparo was his own artist. He was a great artist on his own, and his interpretation of Batman was still very distinct from my version of Batman. And, when I think about it and look at him, I must agree. And this is a great, collection of Aparo in his prime doing his best work. 50% off. It's just $24.99. You can get Avengers by Bendis, the complete collection. This is trade paperback volume 1, and it's Brian Bendis and Alan Davis doing some great work. It's got Avengers Prime 1 through 5. That was a great story of Tony, Cap, and Thor all together, kind of fighting in a different realm. Avengers 1 through 12 and the first annual, and then New Avengers Annual number 1. Pretty neat collection. 50% off, $19.99. You can get the Harley Quinn Rebirth Deluxe Collection hard cover. This is Volume 1. Amanda Carter doing the writing. Chad Hardin doing the art. It's 50% off, $17.49. There's also Batman, His Greatest Adventures trade paperback. This is from the Batman Adventures comic book, which, got to tell you, man, if you didn't read that stuff, it was based on the cartoon. Kelly Puckett did a hell of a job writing. Rich Burchett did a hell of a job doing the art. Ty Templeton was also one of the artists on here. Dan Slott was part of this run, although I don't think he's part of this collection. But it's 42% off, $5.79. And I'm telling you, these are great, short, but absolutely amazing Batman stories. Cannot recommend the Batman Adventures from the 90s and the 2000s. And the same goes for the Superman Adventures as well. Really, really great stories. So if you can find that stuff either in collections or even in the dollar boxes, so worth your time. So there's a hearty recommendation for that stuff that spun out of the 90s DC animation. Just really good comics by great writers and great artists. Just a few of the great books that are available right now at InStockTrades.com. Don't take my word for it. Go to the website, do some searching for your favorite writers and artists. You will find great books at great prices. InStockTrades.com. Without further ado, let's get into our conversation with Declan Shalvey, talking about Savage Town, his excellent Irish crime graphic novel that is out on Wednesday from Image Comics. Here's me and Dec, now on Word Balloon. Man, it's been forever, and occasionally I get to see him at conventions for like 2 seconds, usually New York. But it's wonderful to have Declan Shalvey back on Word Balloon. Welcome back, Dec.
I'm back, baby.
Better than ever.
Yeah, it's a matter of opinion.
Well, I caught you yesterday with Will, and forgive me, is it, how do you say Will's last name? Sibley?
Sliney.
Say it again.
Slimy, like slimy, but
like slimy. Okay, yeah. That's awesome. Well, slimy.
I don't think you'd like hearing it explained that way, but it's the quickest way to get the.
Well,
saying.
It was great to see you and Will on. Was it Joe TV? Well, what's the name of this?
It's called the Joe Show. It's like there's this website in Ireland called Joe.ie, which is kind of like it's like entertainment,
like Maxim or something, right? I mean, it's guy talk basically.
Yeah, it seems to. I mean, to be honest, I don't look at the site, so I didn't. I just knew of it. But they do this kind of live broadcast, I think, once a week. And Will's been on it before, but he was just saying, like he suggested me or something, and with Savage Town coming out, I figured, well, thousands of people watch it, so. What harm? Also, because it's something I'm sure I'll mention it later on, but it's something I'm trying to do with Savage Town in that I'm hoping I can hit like an American audience, but I'm also trying to hit an Irish audience that maybe don't generally read comics.
I hear you, man. Well, honestly, first of all, you guys did great, and we can talk about that later.
Thanks.
Absolutely, man. It was funny as hell.
Oh, if you say so.
Yeah, you haven't watched it yet?
No, I haven't. I don't think I will. I'll just speak. Jordy watched it live when she was working at home, and she gave me the summary of how it went down, so that's fine.
Okay. Well, I hope she was positive too. I understand, dude. Believe me, I die 1,000 deaths every time I do video, and when I have to watch it, it's like okay. And I'm like Chris Ware. If you've ever seen Chris Ware at a comics panel, the guy literally talks through his hands. And that's how I am watching video of myself. So I totally understand. That said, you guys were hilarious. I thought it came off really natural. I mean, you seem, just like talking to you now. It was, it didn't feel like it was put on in any way, and it was funny.
No, that's good. And there's always, I think you always have to that's you're trying to hit an audience that don't really know comics. So, you've got to kind of take their people's hand and walk them through, because you and I, we know about citations, we know about variant covers and yada yada yada. So they showed Will's issue of 2099, Spider-Man 2099, and it was actually a Rick Leonardi cover, and they goes, oh, here's your cover, and Will's like, oh, but it's then you there's no point explaining them what a variant cover is.
But
right over their heads.
You guys did great. You guys did Pictionary, Quick Draw, which is tough to do and always fun to see.
How the hell was I supposed to draw that?
I loved it. I love it. Conor McGregor on a rocket.
Yeah, didn't quite work. Even Will said afterwards, like, I have no idea how I would have done that.
I didn't know it was specifically Conor McGregor. I thought it might be an Irish astronaut that I wasn't aware of or something.
Oh, that's a Rubber Bandit is they're a rap group from Ireland, from Limerick actually, but they're famous for wearing shopping bags on their heads. So it's a guy is one of them in an look, man. I just did what they asked me to. I take no responsibility.
Well, it's funny. I hope it's posted somewhere. And truly, man, you gotta let everybody sit, because it really. I think I saw Jordy tweet about it, and sadly, have working nights and stuff. And I was actually off yesterday and today, so I'm like, I got time. That was fun.
Yeah, no, I tweeted a link to it earlier on. Anyway, so it's definitely there somewhere.
Excellent, man. Well, anyway, let's talk about Savage Town.
Sure.
Great job, because to me, it felt very much like an Irish Love and Rockets. It's a street story in the best way.
That's cool. I'm going to take that. And
if you need a pull quote, son, there you go.
No, thanks, man. I mean, because it's curious, because I've shown friends and they like it, and some of them are Irish, so they quite liked it. And I hearing what Americans think is good, because I very much wanted to make something that was very undistilled.
Understood. Yes.
But also, because that's the thing. I've been asked a lot. Do you think it's going to be hard for an American audience to read it? And I compare to, say, when I used to watch The Wire, I didn't understand what they were talking about half the time, because one half was street slang and the other half was like all cop talk.
Yes.
Red balls and whatnot. So
you're right.
You're watching it going, I don't know what's going on, and then after a while you become really engrossed in it, and because it's like there's a point in which you just kind of like burst through that bubble, and then you're in the world.
Yes.
And I really admired that. I remember thinking, it would be cool to do that with like an Irish. Something set in Ireland, because it, especially because of, I thought it was quite. Really wanted to kind of get in how we talked.
Certainly.
Because it's all about, it's the English language, but you kind of move words around in a weird way, and I felt that, especially with the graphic novel, you can really kind of hopefully really sink into the world rather than. I'm hoping it's not off-putting. I know. There's a cardinal rule of writing where you shouldn't really write in those kind of. In accents and stuff, but I figured if I just went all the way in, rather than just try stick it in here and there, that it might be a more kind of more of an enveloping experience.
Well, exactly, and I think with the art, as opposed to reading prose and nothing but street slang prose, having the art and stuff like that, I think makes it a good read. It does pull you into the world. I felt the same way about. Gabriel Ba and Fabio Moon's last big epic Argentinian timepiece that they did a couple years ago, and I can't even remember the name.
Cool.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do know. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it either, though.
But
was
honestly,
that Day Tripper or?
Well, no, it wasn't the Day Tripper series. It was after that. It was the graphic novel, and they might have won the Eisner for it last year.
Two Brothers.
That's what I want to say. Two Brothers. It is Two Brothers. Yes, exactly. Well, that's the thing, man. I think that pulls you in, and you want to feel like you're in that world. And I won't deny that. Yeah, at times I had to really concentrate, which is good. I want to focus and read my graphic novel, and I want it to sit with me longer than the chewing gum sometimes that we get from monthly comics. And I think this was a really involved story. I'm a huge fan of, and I recommend this for people who like these kinds of films, The Boxer, The General, Veronica Guerin. So I'm fascinated by the Irish street life films that we get in The Name of the Father. I love all that stuff, man. Because I like at that time, like all those films were kind of, during the, I would say, early 90s. Yes.
Generally 90s. And there was a real renaissance in Irish film then. A lot of directors getting like actual proper financing from American studios and telling Irish stories.
Absolutely.
And that was kind of my inspiration, really. Have you ever seen The Snapper?
No, tell me about it.
It's a book. It's based on a book written by Roddy Doyle and Colm Meaney. I'm sure you know him from Star Trek.
Love Colm Meaney. Of course,
you got to see this film, man. It's I think it's probably made in '89, maybe '92 or something. But basically, it's about a young girl who gets pregnant. She's not married and nobody knows who the father is, and she's got to break it to her dad, who's Colm Meaney. And it's an extremely working class book. It's set in an estate in Dublin, and it's kind of about the social stigma kind of surrounding an unmarried mother and stuff like that, or unmarried expecting young girl. But it's great, and Colm Meaney's brilliant in it. I remember watching it with my mum, and it just kind of felt like our lives.
Wow.
And I was rewatching it there recently a few years ago, when Geordie came to America. I showed her some Irish films just to kind of go like, this is what you signed up for. I had a friend of ours, Jeremy Lambert, who's writing a Goosebumps series now for IDW. But
cool.
I was like, I will switch this on, and they really liked it. And half the time you're wondering, is anyone, are they going to get the humor? But some things are universal, and they really liked it. And I've showed them Father Ted as well.
Love Father Ted.
And that's another thing, is I remember when I was going to America, I was like, I don't know if Americans would get Father Ted, but then they all did, But having been very fortunate in doing what I've done at Marvel and DC and Image and whatnot, I felt that I was in a unique position to make something like that, like those films I really loved when I was growing up.
Absolutely.
Something that felt more authentically Irish, but wasn't self-published, that could actually be published through Image, who, like Marvel were never going to publish that. Image will publish unusual material. I had a good relationship with Image because of Injection. So I kind of just got my shit together and thought, I'll just see if, I'll get a pitch together, do a proper pitch, art, colors, letters, everything, send it to Image and see what happened. And then they went for it, thankfully. So, that's what it kind of feels like. It kind of feels like I've gotten like an American studio to help me make an Irish film.
That's awesome, man.
I
do.
That has that kind of very very grounded feel, mixed in with the crime genre, because I really love crime stories, and I've never really gotten to do one, make a sort of short stories. So I thought this was a nice opportunity to kind of like mix a genre element that everybody knows, with a kind of slice of life element that I kind of wanted to see.
I love it, man, honestly. And I'm looking right now. I opened the PDF again to look at it. And forgive me, who's your artist again?
Oh, the artist is Philip Barrett. He's doing comics longer than I am, man. When I met him years ago, he'd already been like in Canada. I think he was like part of like the small press scene there. But he's this wonderful, sweet man who just does his own comics. He's like he do his own little zines and photocopy them and sell them at shows, or self-publish short little comics. But he did these kind of like short like stories of just kids acting the maggot, or a couple of like Irish idiots. He would draw these great character faces that like would remind me of the people I grew up with, and they would just be getting up to stuff. It really felt like outside my door,
Well, it's gorgeous, man. I'm telling you.
No, he's amazing, yeah.
And it does, again, it has that Hernandez Brothers kind of feel to it, where it's that indie authentic look that I think really did fit the story so well. And
yeah, it's weird because Phil's not like, it's not a traditional American mainstream type style.
Sure.
And I remember, and I was thinking, who would I do this with? Like, I could ask somebody else who kind of would maybe fit that, but I just felt that Phil's work was so its own thing. He was a fully developed artist. He has his own approach. There's so much that he does that nobody else could really do. And, if you're going to do something a little different, then again, just go the whole fucking way with it. Like, and I know a couple of people told me maybe Phil's stuff was too indie, or maybe, people wouldn't like everyone liked it, but they didn't know if anyone would buy it. But I don't like. I guess we'll soon find out. But no, I just think Phil's great, and nobody knows who he is, and that just drove me insane because I think he's like the most talented artist in the country, the most talented storyteller, and I really wanted, on top of all those other things I mentioned, I really wanted to have I want to read a Phil Barrett book so bad, and he doesn't have the resources to make one himself. I was able to kind of do that, so. I'm hoping this could be a platform to kind of like open his work up to people who never would have seen it before.
Here, man. It's gorgeous, and again, it's a good indie style, and I hope you're right. I hope that again, you've got a good name out there, and you've got a good fan base. I do think obviously your fans are going to gravitate to it, but this is a great. Like I said, the Hernandez brothers and Gabriel and Fabio with two brothers and Ciudad, that book that Andy Parks I think translated and everything. I thought that
I've heard some kind of weird. I heard John McCrae. I've heard Steve Dillon. I've heard I've heard like loads. I mean, and they're very different artists, but there's still this kind of feeling. There's this aesthetic to one of those guys, which is, I mean, that's fine by me. They're all great.
Sure, man. No, he's perfect. Really, I think it really fits the story.
There's all these little there's when they're in the pub. I've said this a million times now, but like there's you can all the bottles behind the bar, and there's these little kind of like old jugs up on top of the door. And I remember being a kid. My mum she'd take me to the pub with her, and I remember all these little knickknacks, or when he's in the caravan and you can see all the little kind of Virgin Mary statues, and just the attention to detail. Like I've had flashbacks to my childhood looking at these pages, and I don't know Phil from my childhood. We're not from the same place. He's from Donegal and from Clare, and his just the amount of attention to detail he has in there has been just amazing. Like he draws somebody doing the washing up, and it really, really feels like they're doing the washing up.
I'm looking at that panel, I think, right now, because they're in Jimmy's kitchen, and there's the Virgin Mary on top of the freezer.
Yeah, it really. I mean, it just. I remember being in that, he's had the house he drew. Actually, Jimmy's house reminds me so much of the house I grew up in when I was a kid. Well, even the back garden, like. Mad.
Go on. I'm sorry, man. I'm stepping on you.
No, you're fine. Jeez, I'm just babbling out at this stage, Sean.
No, but I love it. Honestly, I think it's great, man. There's a lot of heart in this, and it's a great little like street crime story and everything, and it's really about this entire Savage Town. It's about the town, and you achieve a lot in 108 pages.
It's 109. Yeah, I think 108, 109, I think. And you wouldn't have seen the PDF, but we've got some really nice extra material at the back, just like Emma Price's design, like all the design work she did for the logo. A lot of like character drawings by Phil, which are really, really nice. I like it's going to be published in trade paperback format. It's a graphic novel, but I really wanted it to feel like a graphic novel, so we've the great thing about Image is you can like decide your paper stock. So I don't know if you've seen the new criminal reprints, basically, not reprints, but the new editions Image have done of the criminal, where it's just right. It's like the paper, solid matte paper, but the trade paper, the cover is uncoated stock. I was talking to Sean Phillips about it, and even when you feel the cover, it has a different kind of aesthetic to it, just because it's not slick,
Yeah.
And we've got a nice kind of gloss sheen on the logo, and it's just little things like that. Like it costs a little bit more to make, but if you're going to do something in the graphic novel format, I really felt like we had to try and make it feel as graphic and novelty rather than just a trade paperback,
Totally, bookshelf worthy, absolutely, man. And I love that on the inside, certainly.
Well, thanks, man. But so there's as much extras as we could have. All the layouts that Phil did, and I did the layouts for the last chapter, so it's kind of cool seeing the layouts I did and then how the pages look in the end. It's just a really lovely package, man. I'm literally looking it over today because it's going off to the printer. And
Look,
I mean, the writing might be shite, but it's a gorgeous book.
The The writing's not shite. Don't worry, man. That's fine. It's fantastic. And Jeff, here's another comparison: a Jeff Lemire story. I mean, that's you've got that vibe, I think. In this. So yeah, man. No,
I take that like that. Jeff's one of those types of storytellers that I think is something to aspire to. Because I love superheroes. I love genre stuff. But I mean, I also love kind of more like I really like what he's doing with Royal City right now. That kind of it's that they don't need the genre element necessarily. I mean, I have it with Savage Town because I like crime, but also Limerick has had this really bad history with gangland violence back in the early noughties. So it kind of seemed like the perfect way of, telling my slice of life Irish thing with the crime genre, with, a fictitious take on what happened at the time,
The irony, too, of a town called Limerick, given what, what we talk about in there. Well, really, that's
yeah,
kind of rough
everyone's like,
to have
your
town named like a joke or whatever. That's
it's like, Limerick. You're like, yeah, you've never been there.
Is that Ireland's Cleveland, basically? Is this what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say so. It's the underdog city, I would say.
I hear you.
Dublin's the capital. Galway's a tour. Like all the tourists go to Galway. They all go to Cork. They kind of drive past Limerick. But like, I mean, I loved Limerick. I lived in Limerick for I studied in art college. Like I used to listen to Word Balloon when I was working on my portfolio in Limerick.
That's insane.
I lived so that's the kind of weird kind of full circle thing about it, was that now I'm in a position where I can kind of make something. I kind of went back to the beginning a bit, but I love Limerick. It's like you can walk to the pub, sure, and you can walk home afterwards, whereas in Dublin you got to get a fucking taxi or some shite. But it's very small, but it's very big.
Okay.
And I think the character of the people there is something I love, and so it's but at the same time there's bad side to it too. So I'll try to strike a balance of like being affectionate, but also not just trying to make a puff piece about Limerick. I mean, it definitely isn't that, but I'm expecting a little bit of blowback.
Local blowback.
I've gotten little tints of it here and there, but because the book, when we announced the book at Emerald City, an Irish newspaper did an interview with me about it, and then it's kind of weird, like the Irish media will pick up about it. So then I was on radio stations talking about it, and the Limerick radio station was criticizing me for calling it like Savage Town, but I'm like, that guy knows, like in Ireland, savage isn't necessarily a bad thing, like that was a savage attack, that's bad, but like, that film last night was savage, that's a compliment.
Interesting. Okay.
So many of the words that we use in Ireland, like, it means a good thing and it means a bad thing. I was really annoyed when Deadly Class came out in the Rick and Wes's book, because both deadly and class are words we've used, like deadly is something is also a compliment, like like that girl last night, that girl last night, she was deadly, or like, oh man, she's class, like,
sure.
I kept thinking like, oh, they're using all the words. So I had to jump on savage before anybody, before I couldn't use that.
That's fantastic, man. Wow. I mean, that's the thing. It's funny. I just talked to Pat Mills the last week and everything, and I said, I'm like, the ugly American. I'm here with my loud shirt, my camera and everything, and yeah, like I'm learning the idioms and learning all the ways. So it's fascinating. So that's crazy.
That's what I kind of wanted to get in there. Like, is the the double. There's a double to everything in a way. Like, there's a good and a bad to Limerick, to the language, to the people. I don't know. Everything was just clicking for me. So I saw the opportunity to maybe make. I've said it elsewhere. Is that it's a book I've wanted to read, and nobody was making it.
Attaboy. Yes.
So I did it.
I think that's great, and I think a lot of times, listen to that voice and everything, and you'll find that there are more people that would love a thing like this. And yeah, that'll be very interesting to see the Irish reaction to this. So, I mean, this really is an Irish product.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much going to try and target a non-comics audience for this, because sure. I mean, I think anyone who likes my stuff in Ireland will probably pick it up. Great. great. But I think there's an opportunity because Ireland is an island after all. And I can get on things like television and radio here. The mass media is something I can actually get on in this country. I just need the infrastructure to push a book, and because this book's coming out through Image, it's coming out through bookshops. So if I can talk to bookshops, then I can get, because like my aunt, she wouldn't know to go to a comic book shop,
of course,
because there's none near her.
Okay.
She wouldn't necessarily know how to get on Amazon to order a copy of a book. Generally, a lot of Irish people, like I say, older than me, would still go to bookshops. They still go to music shops. So I kind of want to make. I'm trying to make something that would feel like that is a graphic novel that an Irish person go like, oh, what? like watching The General or something.
I hear you, man. No, that's the vibe, and I think you succeed. And totally, man. You've already got your Marvel audience. And that's great. And I'm sure that, and we're going to talk about your Marvel stuff coming up as well, and the stuff you've already done. But no, I think this is great, and I think this is what a creator-owned project should be, in terms of, all right, I won't be able to get to do this story. It's funny. I know at first I thought you had worked on The Kitchen, and then I remembered Ming Doyle saying no, but you kind of were like a critical eye for those guys when they made The Kitchen at Vertigo. And that's the closest thing I can think of as far as a mainstream chance. Luckily, there's Image that, I'm saying of the big two, obviously, and luckily now there's Image. And as you say, you've got a good relationship with them, and I'm really glad that they're giving you the platform to tell this story. And yeah, man, get that real mainstream audience, not the comic book mainstream audience.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the aim anyway. We'll see. Like, I'm kind of hoping in America it can be seen as a book an Irish comic for people who wouldn't know what that is.
I hear you.
And there's Irish creators who've done stuff. I mean, like Stephen Mooney's on Half Past Danger and stuff like that.
Yes.
But I think the thing with Image is I think I've just such a close relationship with the publisher, because Image are, they're really try and do everything they can to get your stuff out there. I have a bit more. I think there's just a bit more communication there, and there's a bit more involvement, and they've been really great. I mean, it's an odd book. It's basically by a first-time writer. I mean, I've written a little bit of Marvel stuff already, but not much. And an unknown artist. The biggest name on that book, I think, is Geordie.
That's you're right.
Like the guy, I know we'll get sales because Geordie's name's on that book without doubt.
Hey, it's that guy that Jordy Belair lives with. That's fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's hilarious. I'm with her.
So it's a bit of a hard sell to some degree, It's a graphic. It's not like there's a first issue where you can go like, oh, I wonder what this is like. So it's a tough sell, but I like I said, I was like, feck it. It would have driven me mad had I not put it together, and I had the resources. So, I mean, I'll give it a shot. If it does well, I mean, I'd definitely like to do more. The whole idea was for 3 books, but I mean, at the end of the day, there might only be one. So I tried to tell like the concise story. But like even Geordie today, when she finished coloring it, she was like, "So what's going to happen with this guy and that guy?" I'm like, "Oh well, this is what would happen," and so I know where things would go.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Well, we'll see.
Well, yeah, of course, but honestly, Deck, the good thing too is this is something you've got it. It's going to be out there, and however it initially does, as your notoriety continues, because you're an excellent artist, and I think you're a fine writer as well, and especially for this, it's not, as you said, you've done.
You forgot handsome.
What's that?
You forgot handsome.
And that's true. Well, that goes without saying. But honestly, that years from now, as your name gets more, you get a bigger following and stuff, this could easily be like your AKA Goldfish for Bendis or somebody like that. That, initially it, only sold a few thousand copies, but, now people do go back to it and they want to read it. And it's, honestly, this is a quality book. And as you say, it may not be, certainly it's not a superhero book, but it's a great crime book. And we've given some really good examples of great crime films that this feels very much like. So I really think this is a good gamble, if not for today, then in the future, where it's, and again, you can always just go back to press and, in a couple of years when you're a king and do more.
Well, like, I mean, it's a gamble. It was a gamble we're taking, because at the end of the day, I didn't spend all the year drawing it like Phil did.
I hear you. Yeah.
So I'm still working on Injection, and I'm still doing like Punisher covers or
cool.
Whatever else I'm doing. So I mean, I'm very fortunate that I didn't I put my money where my mouth is to a degree to make sure everyone gets paid and stuff. But I didn't have to put any. I didn't have to invest drawing time in it, which is kind of the most precious thing. So I'm quite fortunate that I've been able to do everything else and keep this going. So yeah, it's a gamble, but I mean, if it blows up in my face, us will be fine, and Jordan will be fine, and Clayton will be fine, and Phil will have that book I've always wanted him to have. So
there you go. No, man, I've
already accepted defeat.
No, but that's the thing. I think putting it out is its own victory. And again, I really think you're being modest, but yeah, people. I believe people will find this book. And again, I am a sucker for a good crime story and a good street crime story, and it Savage Town absolutely fulfills that. I mean, it's great.
Oh, thanks, man. I do genuinely feel if you read the first like 20, 30 pages. You're in.
Totally.
Like you'll want to read the rest. Image were really good. They printed like the first 20 or so pages as a single issue and handed it out at a lot of book fairs during the summer.
Hey, that's great.
That was really cool. No, that was really good. I thought of them because that was because it is, I think, a hard sell, because it is not me. If it was me drawing, it would be different. But I feel like, if you pick it up and you read it, you're going to want to know what happens, I think,
Definitely. Absolutely. I really think for a first graphic novel, it's excellent. And
thanks, man.
Great Gabe Hardman's story about the dog. And now I'm blanking on the name of that story.
Yeah, it wasn't
Manson.
Like it was.
It's not Manson. It's like
Kinski. Was
Kinski,
it?
There we go. Or Kinsey. Or Kinski. No, you're right. It was Kinski. Yeah, I mean, this is another thing like Kinski to me in the best possible way. Absolutely, man. So, there you go. Your old Agents of Atlas, buddy. Gabe Hardman.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, no, Savage Town is great. When does the graphic novel come out?
It's at September 20th.
Excellent.
So it'll be out just before Thought Bubble here in the UK. So it'll be out for New York Comic Con as well. So I'll be there
great.
Flogging my wares.
Excellent, man. Well, I'll likely see you there then at New York Comic Con. So that's
Excellent.
Terrific. So yeah, Savage Town, everybody, from Image Comics. I think it's huge. And I'm very happy for you, Deck. This turned out great. So let's move on to some Marvel stuff, because I mean, you're modest, but you've been writing some cool Marvel stuff, and I know. And refresh my memory, didn't you do a Secret Empire tie-in?
No, I didn't do a Secret Empire tie-in. I did.
Which event?
It was Civil War 2, Choosing Sides.
Thank you. Okay, that's
There was an anthology series that Will Moss was editing, and he asked if I would do it. It's it was all different short stories, but they wanted to have one story that went through the whole mini. So he asked if I would do a Nick Fury story, and he said, I liked how he said it. He said, I'm going to make it difficult for you to turn down, because he's asked me to do stuff in the past and I couldn't. But he said, I want you to write it too. And I was like, oh, Will Moss, you got me. Because then because I was already set to do All-Star Batman.
Oh, awesome!
It was a bit away though, but I knew it was coming. But I was like, I can't turn down a writing and drawing. Who gets to do it? Very, very few. Like at Marvel, like Scotty, who else has done it? Yeah, really. Carrie Andrews.
True. Okay, that's true. Yeah, you're right about both of those guys. Yes, indeed.
But not a lot more.
Rare exceptions, man. No, absolutely. That's awesome, dude. 10 pages.
It was 10 pages for the first issue, and then it was 6 pages for the rest.
Right, so it was the through line story.
Exactly. Okay. Yes, it was 40 pages total.
Wow, man.
So I was drawing that, and coloring that, and I think as I wrapped up one volume of Injection, and then was kind of prepping for Batman. But no, that was brilliant, and getting to it was weird because I had started writing Savage Town at that stage, but I was still kind of dragging my heels a little, or I was feeling a little insecure. But having Fury, which was kind of like shorter, sharper stories on a deadline, really kind of whipped me into shape, And I made sure, that I was writing proper scripts for Will and that they were, properly written and there was no bollocksing around and whatnot. And being able to just kind of, trying to construct a story that like told one solid story while also told individual stories issue to issue. So issue to issue, you're reading these little short stories, but then what was nice is they collected in the trade as one. So you have that one Nick Fury story, and then you have all the other like short stories that were in the miniseries.
Interesting. No, that's cool. So that's out there, and it's Civil War II choosing sides.
Yeah, if you get the trade, it's all in there.
That's awesome, man. That's cool.
No, that was really cool. I got to. Will Moss was amazing. I just like basically said, "Can I do this?" And he was like, "Sure." And then I did it. it was not. I mean, I'm always willing when you do kind of company stuff. Like, compromise is in the air. I understand. It's like doing like a design brief. You can't do any. The paper is a certain size. There's certain remit you need to work within. So I understand that, like from a writing point of view too. But Will was brilliant. I think the Black Widow story in there I just kind of did it in layouts because it was I just said, could I do a silent story? And he was like, sure. So I just got to write and draw a silent story, at Marvel. I couldn't believe like what Will was letting me do, but it was a brilliant experience.
That's awesome, man. I'm gonna have to pick up the trade. How many different characters did you do in the shorter stories?
I didn't want to make it too cameo-y, but I love Black Widow, and although the really annoying thing was as I was working on it, Black Widow issue 1 came out, and I was like, oh, son of a bitch, Chris Samney. Here's me trying to do my spy story, and just Chris Samney just blows everything out of the water. Fucking prick. But I think the first one was just kind of Nick, the big double cross with Shield. The second one, Moon Knight appears. The 3 different versions of Moon Knight I drew, because everyone's always said to me like, oh, when do you come back to Moon Knight? And like, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I figured, well, if I'm going to come back to Marvel and do something, I might just try and appease those guys,
Moon Knight fans, absolutely, very cool.
So I got a page of Moon Knight of 3 different Moon Knights, and Black Widow shows up, and I think that's it. I think I tried to kind of,
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I could have done something like, because I really want to draw Daredevil someday. I could have worked him into it, but like, it would be ridiculous if you're just making everything a cameo book, I really tried to make sure I was telling a story first,
okay,
and then anything else I could kind of put in there was an extra.
Dick, I'll be honest, the tie-in books they hit you like snowballs with these events.
Yeah.
And they can get overwhelming, and I think good things slip through the cracks. And this sounds like one that I don't want to miss, so I'm going to have to backtrack and make sure that I take a look at this. And I've got Marvel Unlimited at the very least. So
yeah, I'm genuinely really proud of it. Like I think Will was saying that he kind of wanted a Steranko feel to it, and the way to do it was to have a writer artist do it. So it was a great writing exercise for me, and getting to just like draw stuff that I really wanted. Like I did one bit where I did a splash page of a tiny, tiny moment. And like you'll see it if you read it. It should have really, you could argue that should have been a panel on a 5-panel page, but I made it a double page spread because I just wanted to try it. I wanted to do something a bit ballsier, and I was like, they're not going to let this 6-page story have a 2-page double spread. But they did, and I think if you read it, you'll see. I mean, like the way I constructed it to work, but I was really, I have to say, like one thing for Marvel is that they if they can, they really do let you try as much stuff out as you can.
I understand.
It was very
and I'm glad. I just, like I said, I don't know, man. I think good things like this can easily, like I said, be ignored. Because they're a tie-in book, and that's how they're branded. And I think it works against a book as much as they think it works for a book. And I'm sure Dave Gabriel's got the equation to prove me wrong.
Probably. There's some really great stuff in it, man. There's a Chelsea Kane, Jessica Jones story with Alison Sampson drawing it. There's a Stephen Byrne drew a story written by Ming Doyle. Oh God, there's loads of great stuff in it. Yeah, it's a genuinely really, really good anthology. I thought it was great.
Interesting. All right, well, there you go. I'm going to have to Civil War II, choosing sides. I'm going to maybe have to pick that up. That sounds awesome.
Do it.
And you got new Marvel stuff coming up?
Yeah, I've written and drawn a Venomverse story for the War Stories anthology. I think it's a one shot.
Okay.
It's coming out in September. I was asked if I would do a Punisher / Venom hybrid. You know, the way the Venomverse is all like, what if the symbiote took over X,
okay.
Marvel character.
So the symbiote takes over Frank. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and they also, I think it's also a little nod to Kurt Busiek wrote this What If issue. Basically, what if the symbiote took over Punisher? I think the editors. It's like, I think it was out in the 90s.
Okay.
I can't remember who drew it, but I think the editors Devin Lewis and Nick Lowe really liked that story. So I mean, I had a read of it. I can't say it's like a follow on from it or anything, but it gave me a few ideas. And basically it's Frank. I mean, it's just 6 pages, but it was really cool to write Venom and 2 write like Frank Castle. That was pretty savage.
That's awesome. And again, 6 pages. That's a great discipline, as you said, and I think it's kind of a lost art. I always love reading more the DC anthology books that have the 6 and 8 pages, especially the war books and the westerns. They always seem to have really tight but satisfying 8-page stories or 6-page stories. So that's
there's something to be said for a budget. Or
right,
having
economy,
restrictions and working within those. Like, I mean, it's a good storytelling exercise, that's for sure. And I probably shouldn't have taken it because I've way too much stuff on right now. But again, writing and drawing, I find it really hard to turn down because like I got to write Savage Town, which is great, but writing and drawing something at the same, like doing the whole thing, that there's something really, really. There's a sense of accomplishment that comes with having written and drawn something yourself, which is it's really hard to compare.
I understand. No, this is like your film from start to finish, and all the composition and everything beyond script and layouts and stuff. No, I can appreciate that. I think that's excellent. And when you did Savage Town, did you said you laid out some of the portions, correct? I mean, that's what part of the process stuff that we're going to get in the back of the book.
Yeah, it was only the last chapter because we were just getting a little tight on time.
Okay.
And I know that Phil is such like a great storyteller. I would do it too. You would take some time working on layouts. Like I spent about a week doing layouts for any issue of Injection. But the tough thing about that is then you're switching back to drawing actual pages.
Sure.
And you lose momentum basically. So he was coming to the end of chapter 4, say, and he could either go straight into chapter 5 if layouts are done for him, or he could take longer to switch over and switch back. So he said, well, if you could do layouts for the end, I could just work right in there. And it actually worked really well. He changed a couple of things here and there, but I mean, he's the one drawing the page.
Sure, sure.
He's more than welcome to do it. But that was actually a very interesting kind of because that was very similar. It was like I was writing and drawing it because I was drawing the layout,
sure.
Finishing, and that sense of accomplishment was there. But then I handed them over. I didn't have to do any of the hard work.
I understand, man. No, and I've never seen your layouts. I've seen Norton's and other people's layouts, and Xander Cannon has shown me his layouts before. And they're very finished, feeling and stuff. Because
I post my layouts about a couple of days after every issue comes out. So if you browse through my Twitter, you'll see. I think I posted Injection layouts a few days ago. I just post the whole book laid out. Everyone always says nice things about them because I do. They're not finished as such, but they're kind of like. I do them in small little boxes basically, so you can just see all the storytelling, but like none of the actual detail as such.
Okay.
But
sure.
Yeah, I should check them out.
No, I absolutely will. And I always forget. And with your snide comments about Somni and stuff, you were part of Comic Twart back in the day, correct?
Oh yeah, that takes me back.
Good stuff, man. Are you kidding? That was always a pleasure. All of you guys would challenge yourselves, like, okay, this week's character is Rip Hunter, and we'd get 20 amazing Rip Hunters. You know,
I'm just trying to imagine what it was like to have the time to do this. Because, like, there's no, like, I mean, it died, but, like, it died for the best reason.
Yeah, everybody got work.
Well, yeah, exactly. And, like, which is, you know, that's a great reason to not do a sketch blog anymore. It surprises me that people don't really do them anymore. There was a few around at the time, but no, that was great. I mean, just as like where Chris is now, and Mitch and Evan and Mike, like Geordie's colouring. She just coloured a Mike Hawthorne issue of Guardians of the Galaxy, and good Christ, like Mike is amazing. Like they should be. Like why he's not the biggest superstar in at Marvel right now, I just don't understand. He's incredible.
Well, I'm glad he's finally getting, you know, some really big breaks, because God, I talked to him when they brought back the Unmen from Swamp Thing. That was the first time I talked to Mike Hawthorne, and finally got to meet him at one of Tony Moore's Cincinnati shows. And sweetheart of a guy, great guy.
Yeah, really, really lovely guy, and he's got a great relationship with Geordie. Like she loves coloring.
Oh, that's
stuff.
Awesome. Oh, that's very cool.
Oh yeah, she's colored him since I don't think his first arc of Deadpool, but I think maybe his second or something. And she gets very possessive over some guys, so you know, no matter how busy she is, she like make the time for Mike Hawthorne.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful. You guys, and then Gabe Hardman was part of that as well. And
no, Gabe wasn't. Everyone. No. I've heard it a few times. No, Gabe wasn't.
Shocked?
No.
How about?
No, I don't think he was.
How about Steve Bryant?
Steve was, yeah. I totally understand, because I think, like, I mean, we were all mates at the time, but yeah, no, Gabe wasn't.
Okay, I trust you, man. It was your superhero team, man. And you're right. I mean, the great thing is, it really did it brought all of your guys' work to our attention. Tom Fowler also part of the group.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
I mean, that's
like, I mean, from my point of view, when we were doing it, I mean, I was just fucking happy to be there. You know, if you had Mitch Brightweiser, who was coloring, who done Captain America at the time, and Chris was like, you know, doing amazing work. I think Tom was doing. No, it was before Tom did Venom, but Tom had done so much stuff too. I was just happy to.
Jeff Parker's that Mystique.
He was at Mysterious. That's right. Yeah, him and Jeff was Mysterious. But look, I mean, there's a connection there. I'm sure Jeff found my stuff from doing comic to art, and then he asked for me on Thunderbolts, and then, you know, like the blog did what I don't know. Okay, that's not why we did it. We did it to have fun, but it's amazing just like how well it did. It gave us all a platform that people got behind. You know,
I do. Dude, I have a Somni Dan Dare on my wall, and he gave it to me for a song. I mean, it's ridiculous how little I paid for it, but literally, it's among my framed pieces because it's just so amazing, and people go nuts because it's Dan Dare in a pterodactyl nest and looking at these little hatchlings and doesn't realize a giant pterodactyl's behind him, ready to attack him.
Of course, give Chris a page and he puts a story in there.
Damn straight, exactly, man. No, it's insane, and like you said, Somni. But that's the thing, man. I mean, all of you guys, I'm so happy because it's been a pleasure watching your guys' career and expand and getting better known. And you mentioned, of course, working with Warren and on Injection and everything. You were telling me off the air one more issue for the next trade, correct?
Yeah. Then Volume 3 is done. And that'll be the end of the. I mean, each arc kind of centers more on one character than the other. So at the moment it's Bridget. So it's this kind of weird, spooky stone circle, techno ghost, weird mythology. Yeah, it's Warren, so it's fucked up, of course. But yeah, I mean the script. I mean, I get a script and I'm like, oh man, this is great, and then I'll get a few pages in. I'm like, oh no, how am I going to draw that? And then I got to sit there for a week and figure out how I'm going to draw it. But no, I mean, Injection's been it's it's my life's work basically. You know, we're past the halfway point, but I know that like this is this is my planetary, this is the thing that I feel like when Warren said what you want to do, I was like, I want to squeeze as many issues out of Warren Ellis as I can. So I knew I wanted to do something long form, because everything else I've ever done at Marvel or whatnot, it's been like 4, 5 issues, 6 issues. So I really wanted to do something that was as ambitious as I possibly could be. And it is. It's not the hottest book every month it comes out, but I feel that we're just building this really ambitious story. And I know the next arc is going to be about Winters, so it's going to be this kind of James Bond type stage of the story. And I mean, having read Warren Ellis's actual James Bond, I wonder what his James Bond with like no restraints is going to be.
True, that's awesome.
And I'm having cold sweats about having to draw it. So issue 15 will be out in, I'd say, in a month or so, and that'll wrap up volume 3, and then we've 2 more volumes to go.
And Winter is the next volume?
Yeah, Winter's, and I think Robin's going to be the last one, which I think if you've been reading the book, you can see, every book, every volume kind of is building him a lot, and he's got more of a journey through the series, so I think it's whatever climax is going to hit, he's definitely going to be involved.
That's cool, and I'm glad to hear that you guys have an endpoint in mind, because as I say to all of the Image creators that I think have such incredible stories and stuff, it's like, I wonder, I unfortunately I'll use like Celia Norton with Revival and I always Morning Glories, with Nick and everything. It's like, hey man, great story, but like, is there an endpoint? Because we got now there's so many, and it is such a fiercely competitive shelf in the best way and in the worst way, because there is just so much good product out there.
Well, I mean, I wish more series did go longer, in a way, because I feel that a lot of them, like, to me, it seems like 3 books is perfect. It's enough for a collection.
Issues, okay.
This is whatever I do next, I'd say I'll do 10 to 15 issues.
Understood.
From an artist's point of view, it's a commitment for 2 years. It's not a commitment of 5 years.
Sure.
Because it can be tough to just commit to one project and put everything
absolutely.
that one thing. Like Injection, it was a no-brainer. It's a Warren Ellis book. Like, of course I'll do it. But anything else, you have to be pretty cautious.
Yeah, but Warren, Warren's in that rarefied crowd of a handful, like a Grant Morrison or a Neil Gaiman, an Alan Moore, or somebody like that. It's like, no, I don't blame you. Absolutely,
Well, but also Warren's one of the few who, an audience can trust that the story will end somewhere.
Oh, that's true too. That's a good point. I meant literally that certainly Warren has enough readers and stuff that what's next, Warren?
No, but again, let's just say I was doing Injection on my own. It's a weird book. You don't know exactly where it's going, and if it was just me, I suspect people would just be like, meh.
Yeah.
But because it's Warren, it's going to pay off.
I hear you, man.
So he's done enough books now at this stage where you can trust. I think the market maybe is a lot more unforgiving maybe of books, but I mean the quality is so high. But not a lot of books go. I mean, Chew is over now, Revival is over.
Right.
I don't know many other books that are going to go and have 50 issues. I think books should be able to get to 50. Injection was always planned at being 25.
Okay.
Warren specifically structured the story to be 5 basically graphic novels. Sure. So that was good knowing going in that I had worked for 2 years, but that it had an endpoint too. That's fine with me. I'm happy with that. But I wish that it was easier for some books to
go 10 graphic novels.
If you could. That's a lot.
That's the thing. No, because honestly, I agree with you, and I think, certainly I come from the eras when a team would work on a book for several years, and you just accepted it, and it was great, and 40, 50 issues, sure, yes, please. But like I said, it's more competitive now, and that's why I'm like, wow, 10 graphic novels, that's a lot. I think 5 is a good number, and both for creator and consumer, where it's like, okay, that's a really satisfying read. And I think a good opportunity to tell a very developed story. But I don't know, man. Again, because I love, Scalped was fantastic in more than 50 issues, and certainly 100 Bullets. I mean, it's possible, But that's the thing. It's like, and again, with the competition out there, pretty tough, man.
Well, yeah, and it's tough to build the infrastructure to keep that going. I mean, Saga can do it, Outcast can do it. Like, those guys, they can, they. I mean, okay, actually, no, they're doing great. But like, let's just say their single issues are selling well. They're making that back in trade.
Right.
We're the same in Injection. Like, we get by on single issues, but like, it's the trade that really does it. But we're, we know that we can bring a certain amount of an audience. If you're a brand new creator, you got to have 3 issues in the can before you solicit. You've got to have an entire kind of like thing built, and that can be really, really difficult.
Agreed.
And even for like not established, let's just say, I don't want to say D-list, but you know what I mean, like people who have careers who may not be particularly well known but want to do their own book. It's tough out there. It is competitive, but I mean, it's also competitive in the best way. There's never been this many brilliant books on the stand. Agreed.
And yeah, it's a good problem to have. But then again, that's why you got Rich Tommaso saying, hey, nobody's buying Spy Seal. And it's like, well, Rich, it's a crowded bookshelf, man. It's like I sympathize with the guy. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And like you said, Bendis and I were talking about how Bendis, like, some books you got to wait till issue 4, and that's when it really picks up. And it's like, good luck, Charlie. Because it's a different world, man.
Yeah.
You can't wait 4 issues, and he knew what I meant. But that's and he's
sure.
But yeah, it's like you better hit him with a hell of a first issue, man, because it's a crowded bookshelf, and it's not as easy as it used to be.
Geordie's Redlands just came out,
indeed.
And I think like that first issue, like people have really responded to it. Like, I don't know if you've read it, but it hits you hard. And then at the beginning, and then it hits you hard at the end, and you don't know where it's going to go. And I think it's a brilliant first issue because you're kind of just as lost at the beginning as you were at the start, but you kind of have a good feeling of what it is. I think that's a great way to have a book, is that you want to know what happens next.
Yes,
not
excited about
not have a reason to check out.
Yes.
But no, you're right. I mean, you've got to get people with that first issue, and also not the first issue, the second issue.
Yes,
the second issue in a way is not more important, but the drop off between 1 and 2 is very bad in a lot of books. You used to be able to kind of like go, oh, the sales on issue 1 are like this. It could go, it's probably going to go like this, but it's really, I think, the drop off between 1 and 2 that is more of an indicator of how your book's going to go. Like, with respect to, I don't know a Richard thing, but the first I heard of the book was that Facebook post or whatever it was, like, you got to sell your book. I mean, I look at comic book news websites, and I'm on Twitter and stuff like that. And it's tough and especially now, I would think, just with for me, Twitter used to be the thing where I'd push my stuff a lot, and I can see how, posts I make don't go as far as they used to, because there's just so much political fucking bullshit on it now that I don't even want. I don't want to look at it. So the stuff that there's just so much noise out there. It can be really, really hard, because making the book is one job, but selling the book is a complete other job. And it's tough because it takes time. Like, I think I spent about 5 weeks writing Savage Town, cumulatively, I'd say. But I have probably spent the first half of every day for the last year doing something about the book, be it promoting it, or making a Twitter page for Jimmy, or figuring out what I'd like to do when the book comes out, or talking to lawyers about rights, and there's all this other businessy parts of it, which is is interesting, and it's been very, very informative, but it does take time away from actually making the book. Like the Injection issue 15 will be late because of me, because I've been trying to, because Savage Town has to is going to print now, basically, so everything's blowing up in my face, even though I'm not even drawing the thing, and I hate that. I hate not fucking, hitting my deadlines and whatnot, but like, it'll be done, it'll be fine, and then I'm back to Injection, and it'll be grand. But that sucks. But that's just trying to make the book live and move, so it doesn't veer off the train tracks. And then I spent, I think, all of Monday I did a phone interview for an Irish newspaper. I did, I think, a podcast, and I did 2 different website interviews. I mean, so I didn't get any injection done that day. It's an entire other job outside of making the book, so it can be really, really tough, when you're doing your own thing.
Understood, and I imagine also doing it from the island is even harder in terms. Well, and maybe not with social media and stuff in terms of reaching out to the stores, both. I would imagine here in the States and as well as the European markets that you're hitting as well.
Well, no, it's not too bad, to be honest. What we did is, because of the internet and stuff like that, it's great. Yes, there's less stores. It would be nice if we were in Florida and we could hit stores in Florida.
Right,
but
Geordie country.
We have a really good local shop, the Big Bang, and we're setting up like signings with some UK guys too. Then there's New York Comic Con right after that. I see what Charles is doing with Ryan Brown, and that sounds like a brilliant idea.
Yeah, the Curse Words tour that they've been doing all summer. They just got back. I texted Ryan Brown yesterday, in fact.
It's fantastic. That's brilliant. I wish I could do that. We can't, clearly, because we're on this small little island. But
get the boat, get the dinghy ready.
Get the boat, yeah. But look, like those guys are selling that book. It must be hard for Charles to be writing all his books and moving, and Ryan to be doing it. But we'd all love it if you could just do the work and then it magically would get into people's hands. But you never know how someone's going to find your stuff.
I understand. And by the way, before I forget, I do have a slightly underhanded reason for having you on as well, and that is to let Geordie know that I do want to talk about her book. And I do have it. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it is my pile. And my intention was to get Geordie when we were talking and say, "Hey, come on, stop avoiding."
Okay, well, she's upstairs. I'll tell her. I'll tell
Excellent.
her.
Well, yeah, when we're done,
I think she even put up a call for if anyone wants to do a podcast. So she's game.
Oh, that's great. Oh, yes, please. My God, it was great, man. The last time we talked, you and Geordie ended up talking for another half hour afterwards, and she was very lovely about it and stuff. So yeah, I would love to.
I know she's great. If you can get her to sit down for 5 minutes, well, you can. She's just normally coloring something, But look, it's been pretty tough for her too, man. Because she's been trying to do podcasts and interviews and making sure that the book's written for Vanessa to draw and that it's colored for previews. And she's also coloring a new Spider-Man book and Tom King's Batman and coloring my injection stuff and getting a graphic novel done, and it's been really tough for Jordan because she has so much production stuff coming at her, and she's trying to make sure that she's got the machine on her end starting on time for everybody to work. It's a tough slog, but we what we did is we have a guy comes in twice a week and to do kind of like what we did is we sent a lot of Geordie made this lovely little care package with red lens flyers and like rose petals and fake insects and sent them to like retailers that we've met over the years, stuff like that. I sent those Savage Town previews and stuff. So we've been trying to slowly chip it, send stuff to retailers. I have no idea if it actually goes anywhere, but our assistant Darren, he's been doing that like two days a week for the past 3 months.
So he goes to the post office and sends it all off or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's time that we haven't spent because we have him do it. If we didn't, if we can afford to pay him to do that. If it was just me on my own, it would be me posting the stuff off. And
believe me, I'm spinning enough word balloon plates that, and so many people have been very sweet about how can I help? And I'm like, I don't know, but I definitely need it. Let's figure this out. So
yeah, I think knowing how to delegate is tough. Because also I wish I could just send off the interviews to Aaron to do, but that's not right. That would defeat the point.
Deck believes that.
Yeah, exactly.
For Deck, I'd like to say.
There's things you just have to do. There's decisions you have to make that I can't just fob off to Aaron and whatnot. So, but it does cut down on the time out of the studio, basically. And trying to be as productive as possible.
I want to ask about one more book, and then I want to talk about if we've still got time. One thing real fast, All-Star Batman. So tell me about that experience.
Oh yeah. God, there's this character called Batman. I don't know if you ever heard of him. I was very, very fortunate to help launch All Star last summer. It's kind of weird to talk about, like, because it just who gets to have a Batman issue 1 under their belt. You know what I mean?
Damn straight. Nice going. That's a good point. I didn't even think of it that way. You're 100% right. That's huge.
That's crazy. I've known Scott a while. Scott's always been like super sweetheart. But he'd been over in Ireland for a show when we got talking, and I think I knew I was gonna take a break on Injection after Volume 2 because Warren had been a little ill, so I kind of said to him, "Why don't you just take it easy? When you're ready for scripts, you just get them done, and I'll just do some like work for hire stuff and come back." So I got onto Mark Doyle because I kind of promised Mark if anything, if I ever had a window, I would get onto him first because I know Mark a long time. And it turned out he did. He had this All-Star book, and me and Scott were friends, so it just kind of worked out nicely that way. We did the Cursed Wheel backup storyline for issue 1 to 4, I think it was, which is kind of predominantly Duke Thomas's kind of solo story, but Batman kind of comes in and looks all gloomy and then flutters off. But that was great. It was just amazing to like draw the Batcave, and Scott was really great to make sure there was something kind of nerdy in there for me every chapter.
That's cool. That's awesome. So
yeah, and I got to do like variant covers and stuff. So it was. I mean, because I haven't really done any DC work,
right?
Other than Northlanders is all I'd really done before.
Oh, I forgot about your work with Brian. Okay, very cool.
Yeah, but it was Mark Doyle was the editor. That's how I knew Mark. So like I don't know. I just feel so feckin' lucky to just be able to swan in and do 4 issues of Batman and then feck off again, like But No, it was amazing to be part of something just so high profile, Although I do was kind of hoping that readers would follow me to Injection to some degree, but I don't really think that happened. And one of the reasons I definitely wanted to do it was because somebody pointed out that I'd been at Marvel for years, but there's people who only read DC and don't read Marvel.
That is true.
And
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I know it's meant because I just like comics, man. I'll read. I just want to read good stuff. My only allegiance is to good comics,
Amen, son. Absolutely.
But your man, my mate, had a point. He was like, for a lot of people, this is going to be the first time they ever see your work because they only read DC, and that was kind of crazy. But at the same time, those people weren't going to follow you to your creator own work,
Fair enough, and I get it. And also, it's great to see. Like Sienkiewicz when he started with Moon Knight and then eventually got to Batman as well. So it's always, I think, those characters are, I see them as simpatico. How do you see them? Do you see them as simpatico?
No, me too. I mean, it's right in my wheelhouse, There's a core group of characters that I would love to draw. It's like Daredevil, it's Wolverine, it's Batman, Punisher, those kind of, there's a certain kind of tone to all those characters that I'd love to draw them all. I would say I would love to do a proper Batman arc that's just me.
Sure.
I was basically riding on the coattails of John Romita Jr. I mean, look, if you're going to ride off anybody's coattails,
exactly. Johnny's a good, absolutely, man.
But when it was nuts, because I designed the Duke costume and then I'd see John Romita drawing it. That was so crazy.
I didn't realize you designed the Duke costume.
Yeah, I did.
Huge. That's fantastic, man.
Yeah, no, that was
Holy
mental.
shit.
Although they redesigned it now.
That's great.
That lasted a year at least. But no, it was just to get to do all that stuff was really, really. I sat down with Scott in New York and I figured out what we were going to There was all this back and forth. It was really, it was kind of spinning our wheels a little bit. But I sat down with Scott at one stage and we worked out the weapon that Duke would have and stuff like that. And to draw it all, it was really, really cool. It was really overwhelming, very overwhelming, I have to say. But I'd love to go back and do a proper 5-6 issues. Just me and Geordie do a proper Batman story someday. But sure. I've got to do so many cool stuff. I might as well keep some dream projects alive.
Understood. Absolutely. No,
I can't fulfill all my dreams, John.
Well, not in 1 year and everything, or 2 years. No. That's cool, man, and that's good that there are still characters you want to have a chance to do on your own and everything, and do your own Batman story. Obviously, that makes sense. That's great. Tell me about RedCube and how are things going with your studio?
Pretty good. Stuff's coming out now, which is nice. Like Redlands has been in the works for a long time, and Savage Town for like a couple of years now. But I think we kind of like properly gave it a name because we were taking in interns basically. So Geordie had taken in an intern, and her name was Ruth Redmond. I think she's coloring a lot of Deadpool books now.
Very cool.
But that was a few years ago. She was in college at the time, but it was like, Geordie just kind of like, she'd come in the odd time and Geordie would give her little assignments and she'd get better and little tests, and she got better and better and better. And she did really well. And then I brought in a kind of an apprentice for a few months, and her name was Elle Power, and she's doing some stuff at Boom at the moment. But those were kind of our experiments of like saying, can we, what can we kind of help people with?
Yeah, that was awesome. That's what I mean. I think you talked about it yesterday with Will on that, streaming show as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome that there isn't that competition, and that it is really you guys kind of saying, hey, what can we do to help other Irish creators?
That went well. So what happened is we moved out of the apartment we were in into a bigger kind of a penthousey place, which is very, very nice. But it had a lot more room. It had room for a third desk. So we're like, maybe we can, do this again. So we kind of made it more official. We actually took applications. So Geordie took 2 apprentices because she really liked both of them and she couldn't pick. She couldn't pick between them. So they would come in and Geordie would give them assignments. She would get them to flat a page. She'd get them to flat it faster. She would kind of get them to do like painting assignments, stuff like that. And then she got really, really busy and had to stop it for a while, but then came back to it. But I similarly took a young fella from Dublin, and he was really, really promising. His stuff wasn't exactly there, but there was like there was little flashes of like real interesting work. So I took him on for it was just less than a year, I'd say. But he would come to the studio and he would do 1 day a week. So whatever he was working on, he might be doing a 1-page story. So I'd go over his layouts and suggest this or whatever, and he'd come back and, he'd be penciling it, and I'd like spot tangents and stuff like that. And he'd be inking it, and I'd be like, showing him how I use tools and stuff. I'd show him how you did layouts and all that. So he kind of slowly just got better and better and better and better. But he got a job at Boom Studios doing a Sons of Anarchy comic. And he's now doing I don't know if you've seen those Atari books at Dynamite. It's called Centipede.
I have not seen this, but go on. That's awesome.
It's really good. It's called Centipede. Max Bemis is writing it, and Owen Marin is the artist. So like he's properly working in comics now.
That's awesome. Dude, that's huge. I think that's great.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, he was so good so fast. He really, really proved himself, and I'm delighted for him because he was just one of those guys who had talent but just didn't exactly know where to kind of, he had to trim some fat and just kind of focus a little, and his stuff has gotten just like stratospherically better. But and the 2 ladies that Geordie took on, one of them is colouring at Boom at the moment, and the other is colouring at Dynamite. One is Rebecca Nolte, and the other one is Dervla Kelly.
That's fantastic.
So I mean. And we also took on a guy for a week, a friend of ours, and he just coloured that Venom story I mentioned for Marvel. So far we have 100% success rate.
That's outstanding. That's hilarious, man. Wonderful. Congratulations. Yeah. And that's the thing, man. I read I subscribe to your newsletter, so I would absolutely I would see those announcements, and I kind of was just keeping track in the back of my mind, and knew that the next time we talk, I wanted to see how things were going. And again, you got to make the donuts first and foremost, but I'm really glad that the time that you have made for interns has paid off. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a time suck,
sure,
like, to be honest.
Absolutely.
But at least after a while, it's just like putting a little bit of change in the piggy bank.
I hear you, man.
And then after a while, and then they have to do the work. All you can do are just like open some doors for them, but then they're the ones who have to walk through it. But like they're proving themselves, and it's great to see. And it also makes you feel like you've given something back, because I wouldn't be where I am without help from people.
I understand, and that's why I think it's terrific that you guys pay it forward with newbies and helping them find their way as well. No, definitely, man.
Yeah, I think we're hanging it up for a bit because we're both pretty knackered from it, and we're both trying to get our books out and stuff, So I might like give it a rest for a year and try it again, because it's tough to just keep it going the whole time, But no, we're very, very happy with how everyone's doing. It's great to see.
That's beautiful, man. And I was going to ask, just in general, so how is the Irish comics community? Are there how many stores are there locally and stuff?
Well, there aren't that many stores. I'd say there's 3 in Dublin, maybe 4. There's 1 in Galway, and there's 1 or 2 in Cork.
Okay.
A couple in Belfast. That's the bulk of it. There might be 1 or 2 sprinkled around the country somewhere, but it's not a massive industry here. But the thing is, there's a massive swell of talent. I don't know what it is, but there's just a lot of people are doing their own. They're all self-publishing.
Okay.
They're all kind of meeting. I think the Big Bang is a store. It just has so happened when Jordy and I moved to Dublin, a friend of mine was opening a store very close to us. So we'd pop in. I actually had a local comic shop for once, which was nice. But they've been very good for getting in signings and getting other creators in. And I think just over the years, it's just helped build a really good community around Dublin. And there's a lot of talent working their way up. We just don't have an infrastructure to support it.
Well, I'm glad.
Which is frustrating.
Well, I hope they find the right venues to be, whether it's going to cons. I've heard you say before it was shows like Dice and everything that were pretty helpful back in the day.
Yeah, those were really good. Because me and Will had been to American shows, or me and Mooney had as well, and you'd meet people, and so then you're like, come back to Ireland, and then they came to Ireland for shows, and the shows went great, and the people who wouldn't have made it to America got to meet American editors, and it was a really great kind of back and forth there. There hasn't been a Dice for a few years because, in fairness, it's just because the organisers don't have thousands of euro to waste every year. Because I just went to Dublin Comic Con, and that's a very different show. They had the guy who plays the Flash, Jay Garrick there. They had the Dawson's dad.
John Wesley Shipp, absolutely.
John Wesley Shipp. They had Michael Rosenbaum. So they have media people, and they have comic book creators. People aren't really coming for the comics, but they were buying comics, which is kind of important, because as it's great that there's so many people making comics here, but if people don't buy them, then we're fucked.
I'm with you, son.
It's not as good as Dice was because it was just comics.
I see.
Okay. But the problem is, not a lot of people in Ireland. People don't really go to those shows as much. You do need that kind of common denominator of person from TV show to get them in.
I hear you, man. No, I understand. Well,
so Dublin Comic Con is a big success that way, but it does make it harder to do those smaller festivals like Thought Bubble in the UK, which is a massive, brilliant show, and it's just all about comics. It's all about art. It would be great to have a show like that here on our doorstep, but we're not at that place yet.
Understood. Well, you're going to New York, obviously, and we'll see you there.
I certainly am.
And what else beyond that? Do you have any other conventions planned coming up?
No, not American ones as such. We kind of have to pick between.
Sure.
We can only really do 2 realistically because of our schedules.
Sure.
So we actually managed to do Chicago and Emerald City last year, but I'd say we'll have to pick between one of those out of the 2 if we do that. But I'm not too sure. I know Jordy would like to do one in the States because because Redlands is out now. But it'll be just me at New York Comic Con.
Okay, man. Well, there you go. And I will definitely make a point of seeing you out there. And because I'm bummed, I did see 2E2. And I don't even remember if I saw you. I don't think I did.
I don't think I did see you there, actually. No.
Well, the reason why was I was there during the day and then immediately would have to go do radio each night. So and was a zombie.
Right, okay.
Really, man. I went, first night, and then I don't even remember if I necessarily went Saturday night. I came Sunday, after doing a full overnight shift, and I was a zombie, but I just wanted to say hello to people and at least get a chance to, say, hey, so I'm sorry I missed you, but we'll see you in New York. There's nothing that'll keep me from New York. So
excellent,
beautiful,
good.
And congratulations, man. Truly, I think Savage Town, is really going to do what you wanted to do, and it's just a matter of getting enough eyeballs. And I really hope it does make a difference as well in Ireland, because I do think that it's. Like I said, it's like a Lemire book. It's like the Hernandez brothers. It's like Fabio and Gabriel's attempts and stuff in terms of really being authentic to its atmosphere and locale. And I just think it's a really good mainstream street drama, good crime story. But I think it'll satisfy the real mainstream reader.
I appreciate that, man. If you as an American think that then mission accomplished. I should also mention I'm writing. I also happen to be writing a Deadpool versus Old Man Logan series for Marvel.
Yes, we didn't mention that. Okay, you told me that before we were recording. Yes, talk about that for a second.
Yes. Sorry. It makes it sound like a footnote in what is actually a really a really great project. I was working away on I think it was Injection, and Heather Antos and Jordan White asked if I'd be interested in doing this Deadpool versus Old Man Logan. I know Deadpool really well because I used to work on it with Jerry Duggan, and I was loving the Lemire It's
Ed Brisson who's been doing Iron Fist.
It's Brisson now, but at the time I was really enjoying the Old Man Logan book. But and Brisson, oh man, I love Ed's stuff on Old Man Logan now. It's excellent. I'm so glad he's doing so well at Marvel, because I've been telling everyone I know there for like 4 years, this is the next Brubaker.
That is a very apt comparison, because I loved Murder Book. And that's the first thing that I read of Ed's, and I am in complete agreement. I recorded an interview with Ed last week. It likely will precede our conversation, so people already know. Yeah, we just talked to Ed, but so no, I'm totally on board with you when it comes to Ed Brisson.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I was like, I see it. Why doesn't anybody else see it? So I'm really, really happy he's doing so well at Marvel. But I was really enjoying Old Man Logan, and they asked if I wanted to write and draw it. There's no way I could draw it. I just didn't have the time because of everything else I had going on.
Awesome, man.
But oh man, it was so cool. I mean, who gets to be offered to write and draw something at Marvel? It rarely happens. So naturally, I wanted to do it, but I mean, I just couldn't, But I had finished. We had finished the first chapter of Savage Town, written and drawn and lettered. I hadn't been colored yet, so I kind of said well. You mean if you were willing to let me write it anyway, I could still write it and somebody else draw it. I chanced my arm basically, and I figured they'd say no. But no harm, no foul. But actually they were like, okay. Well, I think it was more of a schedule thing. They said, well, if schedule changes and you can do it, we'd like you to do it. If not, we'll talk about another artist. And as it turned out, that's the way the schedule was. I couldn't do it, so I asked. I asked if they'd check if they'd be willing to think about Mike Henderson.
Oh, terrific! Hey, that's great.
You know his stuff.
I do indeed.
Yeah, because I really like Nailbiter. I know myself. Writing comics. The artist makes you look good. Period. And if I'm not going to be drawing the story, because at least if I draw it, I can make it look good, then I better goddamn pick somebody who fucking will make who will make it look good. So I really love Mike's stuff, and I knew he had worked at Marvel, so it wouldn't be the hardest thing to ask for. You could ask for some mad person who'd never worked there, and that's just not going to happen. So I hedged my bets a little, but but they were game. I mean, Heather's been the main editor in the book, and she's been fantastic. The book's not out till October, and I'm writing issue 4 now. I'm well ahead. Mike's on. He's halfway through issue 3 already. The book is so well scheduled. It's been the least stressful thing I have. Because it's been so manageable and a pleasant experience. I would have thought writing comics would be harder than this, but I've got this amazing artist, and Lee Lowridge is colouring it.
Lovely.
And I think it's Josepino lettering it. And I'm getting to do my own covers. I just... Like I hit every branch on the lucky tree, you know. There's not that's a thing, but yeah, like basically you just get into just write two characters who naturally will bump off each other in entertaining ways, with an amazing artist who can like draw the both of those guys so well. So it's basically just trying to come up with ways in which to make it more and more spectacular. You know, it's great fun.
And 4 issues, 6 issues.
I think it's 5
issues.
Yeah, 5
okay,
issues.
It makes sense. That's the usual, amount these days. Yeah. No, that's a great combination.
I see the versus books that they've done. And I think they tend to do like 2 Deadpool versus books a year, maybe 1 a year. And I was just thinking, I just like this to feel different. You know, I would like this book to not necessarily feel like a versus book, but its own thing. So that's why not that I tried to take over the book or anything, but I got to do the covers, so I tried to make them look distinctive.
Oh, cool.
I asked for to try and do something different with the title design, and I don't know who did it, but whoever did do the title design for the book, it looks great. I just didn't want to do a book that just looked like yet another Deadpool book, because I think sometimes they can kind of, with a character that popular and the amount of material that it can blend together sometimes, so it can be really hard to try and make. How do you make a Spider-Man book that stands out from all the Spider-Man books?
Certainly.
So that's been I've been very lucky that I've had a hand in trying to kind of make the book stand out. But I guess again the proof will be in the pudding when it comes out.
Can you tell us a little bit about the story? Or
yeah, I'm sure. It's essentially Deadpool and Old Man Logan are in it. Spoilers. No. Sorry, I'm just not used to this. But effectively, Logan's on the hunt to try and find this new Omega level mutant who's, he was in the X-Mention, got an alert. This mutant's going to hit like certain level. Like she's a ticking time bomb effectively if he doesn't get to her. Of course, on his way to try save her, he bumps into Deadpool. To completely dismisses him, which of course enrages Deadpool. So Deadpool is absolutely obsessed with saving the hell out of her and trying to do it better than with Wolverine. So he's just trying to one up Logan, which of course is only infuriating Logan more because he's trying to save the day. And during the story, there's this other kind of, without giving anything away, there's a third party kind of becomes involved and complicates matters.
I like it. All right, that's awesome, man. No, and a great opportunity for you. And hey, man, literally, Dan Slott and I were talking last week, and he's like, "Do you know what the biggest selling books are at Marvel, the graphic novels?" I said, "No." He's like, "Star Wars and Deadpool." And I'm like, "Okay, there you go."
I mean, look, I'm aware Deadpool is a little popular. Also, because it's weird because there was that the Logan movie and Deadpool, sure. There's these weird. Like when we were on the show, the streaming show you saw, it used to be really hard to explain what the hell you were doing.
I can imagine.
In pop culture terms, it's fairly easy to do now.
Yes.
Some like Luke Cage, the show came out. I'm like, oh well, I drew that character in Thunderbolts, or
Jessica Jones,
Iron Fist or whatnot. Jessica Jones, there's all these weird. It's a weird, crazy time where so many things that were considered very niche and very kind of unusual. There's this massive kind of cultural touchstones now where most people can kind of figure out what you're talking about now. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, God, honestly, I love talking to Liefeld and say, I know you like Deadpool, but did you ever really think that there would be such a glut of Deadpool product? Yes, I did. I'm like, okay, sure you did. You know what?
I would call bollocks, but sure, look, you never know with that lad. He probably did.
But no, you're right. Rocket Raccoon and Groot. I mean, these D-level heroes that, God, when I think back to when either I heard it from Joe Quesada or Bendis that oh yeah, we're going to do Guardians of the Galaxy next, and it's are you sure that's a good idea? I mean, we love you and we really want these movies to work, but it's really? Oh no, we know what we're doing.
But it's crazy how that's fed back in, because there's people who are dying to draw Rocket Raccoon, who like when I was starting at Marvel, if someone said, "Do you want to draw a Rocket Raccoon?" I'd be like, "Oh, Jesus Christ! To draw that animal head, that's going to be a pain in the arse." I mean, but I did like the C2E2 poster with Guardians on it.
I didn't realize
like,
that was fantastic, man. That was all over our subway trains and everything. That was fantastic.
Yeah. So I heard. Yeah, that was great, and so that was me and Geordie, like, and that we loved doing that. You know, it's weird. It's that the pop culture is feeding back into the work sometimes, and that can make it all the more fun. Like, you know, I do the Punisher covers, and you know that's going to be TV show like this next year or whatever. You know, it's going to be really, really strange. It certainly helps like comic creators feel less like weirdo losers when people know what the hell they're talking about.
Absolutely. And no, I understand. Hell, it even rubs as far down as lowly podcasters, where it's like, so you really know about this stuff? And it's like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Believe me, all the people at CBS Radio are very, you know this world. Tell us about this world. I'm like, sure, sit down.
It's mad, like, because even like one thing I say to Irish press, you know, who don't know much about comics, is that, you know, Savage Town is the same publisher as The Walking Dead, and their eyes fucking pop out of their heads.
That's awesome.
You know, like, you know, it has nothing to do with The Walking Dead, but it does certainly help, you know, push the book. It's not a lie. It absolutely is published by the same people.
Course.
But it's amazing it's amazing that I didn't have to say Spider-Man. You know.
Shouldn't have to for Savage Town. That's all right. No, honestly, man, congrats. Nice going. And I know that more success is on its way for both you and Geordie, and I'm really happy.
Why, what have you heard? Tell me.
Looking at my crystal ball, exactly. I
know we're both, Geordie and I we're in an amazing place right now where we basically only have to do stuff if we really want to.
Boy, nice going.
No, rather than having to take work like the journeyman thing of having to take whatever's available.
Sure.
You know, been there, done that. Not doing it anymore. Thanks. But like, we're fortunate that we have that luxury. What's kind of exciting is to also maybe generate projects like Savage Town and like Redlands, where, you know, we can work with people who would love to see, like Geordie's loved Vanessa's work for ages. I've loved Phil's work for ages. How cool is it that we were able to make that project and, you know, for ourselves on top of everything else? So I mean, we're both so lucky. Like, believe me, we know we're lucky. So hopefully we'll keep plugging away.
And I hope more, you know, people that already appreciate the work that they've seen of yours will make it happen too for both Redlands and Savage Town. And I know Redlands is certainly getting a lot of good, hot, positive critiques out there. And like I said, we'll talk off the air, and we'll see if we can. I'll email Geordie, and we'll get her on a word balloon. But I'm thrilled for you, man, and I'm really glad things are going great. And looking forward to seeing you in New York and reading more great Deck Shalvey stuff, along with enjoying the art. Now we can enjoy the writing of Deck Shalvey as well.
Thanks, man. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure catching up with Declan Shalvey. Please check out Savage Town. It comes out Wednesday. Absolutely worth your time and money. A really great crime book, and it's just gorgeous and really well told. So I can't recommend it enough. It was such a pleasant surprise reading something that's great. And, you know, Deck has it in him. We all kind of knew it. And just one of the really good guys of comics. So it's always a pleasure to have him back. And hopefully, in a few weeks, I hope to finally speak to Geordie Belair, because she's always been very sweet off the air. And at the end of the conversation, I kind of, asked her again, please come on the show. Redlands is so excellent. The second issue just came out, and very excited to talk to Geordie, not only about her wonderful color art, but also her writing, too, on Redlands. So good power team in Ireland right now. A force to be reckoned with in the comic book world. But a lot of fun talking to Declan Shalvey on today's Word Balloon. Hope you enjoyed it. It was brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. As always, League, thank you very much for your continued support. And if you want to be part of the action, you can go to wordballoon.com and click on the Patreon ad, or go to patreon.com/wordballoon. Word Balloon is also brought to you by InStock Trades at InStockTrades.com. There are some amazing books that are available now, like Matthew Rosenberg's excellent series of Kingpin. This first volume is called Born Against, and it's Ben Torres doing the art and Matthew Rosenberg doing the writing. It is 50% off, 42% off, $9.27. You can also get things like Green Lanterns, trade paperback volume 3, Polarity, Sam Humphries, who's leaving the book, with Miguel Mendoza and others doing the art. But it's 168 pages and 42% off. It's just $9.85. You can get Superman Reborn. This is Pete Tomasi and Pat Zurcher. Also Dan Jurgens and Patrick Gleason. I believe it collects Action 973 through 976 and Superman 18 and 19. But this kind of finally shakes out what's going on in terms of the transition between New 52 Superman and the real Superman. Sorry, the real Superman. You heard me say it. But no, it was a fun solution. It involved Mr. Mxyzptlk and, of course, John Kent kidnapped, and Clark and Lois start to lose their memories of John, and it's up to Superman to figure out what's going on. But it was a really tight story. It's 42% off. It's $14.49. You can get the Rebirth Omnibus. Got to tell you, Rebirth has been great, and it all started with well, let's see what's in this, because I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. This is the Rebirth Omnibus expanded hardcover. So let's see. It relaunches. Okay. They're gathered in a massive new hardcover, expanded to add newer issues, including... So it's what was in the original. So you got Jeff Johns' first story. You got Scott Snyder, Greg Rucka, Gary Frank, Ethan Van Sciver, Ivan Hayes. But it now also includes Batwoman Rebirth, Justice League of America Rebirth, the holiday special that was fantastic, the one-shot starring the Atom, the Ray, Killer Frost, and Vixen. Pretty neat collection. It's, 792 pages, 42% off, $57.99. You can also get from Marvel Knights, The Punisher by Garth Ennis Omnibus. Man, what a great collection with a beautiful Tim Bradstreet cover. This collects Punisher, the 2000 series from 1 through 12, the 2001 series 1 through 7, and 13 through 37, Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, and material from Marvel Knights Double Shot number 1. This is adult Punisher stories, but really, really great stuff. And what makes Frank Castle the interesting character he is. Garth gets it, as do the various artists, including my good buddy Tim Bradstreet. This is 42% off, $58 from InStockTrades.com. Check out all the great deals. They're happening now at InStockTrades.com. Thanks again for listening to today's Word Balloon. There's another one coming. Shelley Bond, everybody. Man, I've been waiting to talk to Shelley Bond for a really long time. DC just doesn't let me talk to editors while they're active there. And I always have to wait till they leave DC when I can finally talk to them. Well, that's fine, because Shelley has found a new great home at IDW, and I am so excited for her Black Crown imprint and all the books that are coming from it. We get a great preview from Shelley. We get into wonderful talk about her days at Vertigo, her formative years in comics, some of the great people that helped her become the great editor that she is. And it's just a lovely conversation, and truly, it was wonderful talking to her, and I'm really excited to share this one with you, as I was about Deck. And really, September's been an incredible month. I've been embarrassed with riches in terms of all the people that want to come on and talk, and we're not done. We're only halfway done with September. And this is like the 6th or 7th episode I've released in September, and still a ton more to come. Plus, I got Salt Lake City Comic-Con coming next week. Please stop by and say hello. And give me a chance to thank you in person for listening to Word Balloon. I'm going to have a table there. When I have my table number, I'll give it to you online and hopefully on the podcast as well. But please come by and say hello. It would be great to see you and meet you. And thank you for supporting Word Balloon, as you do. So look for that Shelley Bond interview coming up, also being released at the same time as the Declan Shalvey interview. And I hope you listen to it and enjoy it. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2017.